having fun, and we connect with them, and we spend time hanging out with them, and then we use the helmet as sort of a tool to make that connection work. Although we do like kids to be safe on their bikes. The bike safety is not our primary goal in that situation. But and what the cool thing about it is this is all funded through private donations from some wonderful funders that Michael talked about in a minute. But the support we've gotten from folks like yourself and from all over the city has been fantastic. We really appreciate it. So I'll turn that over to Mike for.
I think two of the main funders that already left, Mike and Ann Cerisi and Dean and Corinne Phillips, are two main funders for the program. But I think there's still one here, Emily Maltz. Could you raise your hand? Emily, thank you. We just want to mention Emily. Emily's a great sponsor too, funder. You know, we partnered with some other people, North Memorial Hospital, Bell Sports, the Peace Foundation has helped us out tremendously. Mark, who else?
Put me on the spot. Yeah. Oh, well, the Peace Foundation, you've mentioned that? I did. Yeah. No, I was actually, I'm at a different place. I'm not listening to you.
We were supposed to get this design. We were supposed to help each other out with this. I was never good at this. Penn Cycle.
Penn Cycle. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. And they were going to be here today, but the owner and the manager of the Lake Street Penn Cycle, they're not here. Not yet. They'll probably come later.
So at this time, we want to turn it over to Mayor Ryback.
All right. Thank you. You've met Mark and Mike, and I think one of the hidden stories about all this is how this program has really brought two cops back from the wrong side. It began with just a couple minor felonies and became very complicated. When I visited them in the prison cell, they said they've got one more shot. No, actually, the story of Mark and Mike is a really wonderful one. I spent a lot of years with Mike. He was a security person for me for 6 years. And aside from just a few car accidents and a few places, we came out fine. But the thing that you should know is at the time I spent with Mike and Mark.
Who left the Toyota Prius running and it ran into the snow?
Who left me unguarded at the time?
The homeless person. Sorry.
I will tell you the story later because it was clearly unsecured. But the thing you should know is that away from all the jokes and all that they do so well, when you really are sitting in the car with Mike or Mark, and they're talking about the community for years. They were talking about the fact that we wanted to find a way for police officers to get out of their cars, to connect up with young people. When our opportunity came to put police officers back in schools, they jumped at the chance. They both did that, and then they developed this remarkable program. And anybody who's been out with them or seen the looks in the eyes of kids knows that what they do with a single act on a bike with a helmet is not only magic, but it's critical to the work of every single police officer that we have, and it's critical to the safety of the city. And I'm saying it's nothing less than that, because the front lines of what we need to do is to make sure that our young people trust the police officers out there, and there's not a single thing we're doing better than this, and some great things are happening, but this is phenomenal. And what's wonderful is that so many of you have stepped up and done this. Now, they've come up with a lot of good ideas to fund this. One of the worst ideas they ever had was to charge people $40 for a t-shirt that's great. Mine's falling apart already. It's a wonderfully overpriced t-shirt. I want to see every single person here buy an overpriced t-shirt. Can you do that? Because that overpriced t-shirt is very overpriced. Goes to support their work. But don't believe me because I'm not really very credible. A person who's much more credible, I'm going to introduce them. Okay, good. But I'm going to introduce somebody who sees this work from the ground up and is a great leader in this community, and still, in spite of all of that, like Mike and Mark, Sandra Samuel.
Hey, you know, I could talk a long time. I'm going to be really brief. And I don't want to be like really deep, but I'm just going to, so right, for me, the Mike and Mark are about healing racial wounds. They're about crossing class divides, and they're about being committed to a part of the city that a lot of people run from. And, you know, Michelle and I have had the pleasure of allowing their money to just flow through us. That's about all we do at the Peace Foundation. But but Mark has been on the board, and Mike is there all the time. And what I know is that there are a lot of people in my community who don't have a great relationship with the cops. Okay, it's just straight up. And for me, I know that there are a lot of great police officers out there, and I want them to be held up all the time. And it doesn't, the kids tell me it doesn't get me better than Mike and Mark. And what I know is that, that some little African-American boy who might otherwise never have thought about police work, where he might, or she might, in fact, consider it because of the dignity they bring to, I mean, they're hanging out with the kids, they're taking them to McDonald's, you know, they're running foot races. I mean, they're there, you know, and there's no pretense. And what I know is that while we look to the police for support, a community and pockets of our city that are in pain need some love and some care too. And just one story, and then I'm going to sit down. But they are really my idols. I mean, just really. And I got to tell you, I think I speak for everybody in North Minneapolis, probably the entire city. But in terms of the care, while they play with kids, they also occasionally have to arrest kids. And one day in the office, my computer got stolen by a 16-year-old who was kind of hanging out, 15 or 16, hanging out and stuff. And Michelle had, you know, saw what she had on, and we were kind of thinking that it might be her. So it's like, call the bike cops, you know, it's like we got our own Batman and Robin. And so we call, you know, and so like anybody, you know, I'm freaking out that I lost I hadn't backed anything up. And so it's like, call Mike and Mark, they'll come. And so they were way somewhere, and I think they gave each other crap for coming back all the way to the other side. But by the time I was gone, came back to the office, they had the young lady there, and they treated, and she said she hadn't done anything, and they said, oh yeah, and they started emptying her bag, and there was my MacBook, and there was some wallets and some stuff from CVS, and I watched the dignified way in which they treated this young lady, and tried to talk to her about changing her life, and I mean, they went over and beyond. And I know some people might say, oh, they just did that because there was a lot of you around. Well, you know, they didn't have to do that. They could have just like done their job, right? I mean, you know, service providers who just do their job. But I am just so thankful that they don't just do their job. And they represent the finest, and people are loving police officers because there are police officers like Mike and Mark. So, thank you.
You know, we have to say a big shout out to, we expanded our project this summer, and what we do within the department is, you know, you might imagine, it's kind of like junior high in the police department. You know, we rib each other a lot, and so cops have started to come around, and they think what we're doing is important. They understand it, but a lot of guys, although they would love riding on the bikes all day, doing what we do, it's not something everybody's lined up to do. So we were given the task by our boss over there, Lieutenant Sullivan in the tie. He asked us to expand the project, and we really were worried about that. The guys we could get to expand it, and they allowed us to get 2 more cops to go into Phillips' neighborhood. And we talked about it almost all winter, and worried. And when we approached Bill Cubes and Francisco Porras. They've had similar experiences on the south side that we had last year, which when you're in an assignment where you know you're very effective at what you're doing, you know what you're doing is making a difference, which is public service is pretty rare, and they've figured that out, and watching them sort of explode into Phillips' neighborhood has been fantastic, and they deserve a lot of credit for trusting us enough to do this job and to do it so well themselves. Well, I just wish they were better at Facebook so they could post it. Okay, Bill, you want to talk about something? Todd, you got anything? Okay, so the fundraiser, thanks you guys for coming out. The food is complimentary. It's provided by Max Industrial up the and don't forget to get your